So many years ago, I saw the cutest thing, and it was a grandma to a friend of mine. I never could believe what I saw. I saw the cutest thing, but could I tell you, older folks back in the day and even today sure had common sense ways to save money. Let's get into it for a couple of minutes, and I'll be back in a minute. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever. How you doing? This is Jan, and I love helping people keep money. And today I'm going to talk about ways to save money and more. And let me tell you something. When I was about 20 years old, I had a friend that lived in an area in Queens. And in that building lived her grandmother was in the next, it was a multiple story building. And there were, I believe, 10 tenants in the building, and they lived on what they call the ground floor. So on one side of the building was one lady. Now on the other side of the building, in other words, the two apartments were on the same floor. And the one lady, she was about 27 years young at that point. She had her grandma like right next door in the same building. It was the cutest thing. So she'd invite me over for tea many, many times. And I'd invited my place, for tea. We'd back and forth, young friends. We were in about, close in age, same bracket. She was a couple of years older than I was. But, it was a really nice experience having that friendship. Back in the day, nice young lady and her husband, very, very sweet. All right. But next door lived her grandmother. And when you walked into, let's say, the unit of my friend, it was like, kind of like modern and detail and everything. Then you would go next door to the grandma. I'm telling you, that apartment transformed me back in a very sweet way to how people had their linens and things way back into the turn of the last century in a sweet way. I'm telling you, I felt like I was transformed into time. So every once in a while, the grandma would invite me over there for tea. With, of course, her granddaughter. So we would go into that unit and we'd have tea in that place. Well, so I was sitting there one day, and all of a sudden, what do I notice? A little clothesline, like this, like just imagine what a clothesline looks like, right? But this is in an old fashioned apartment, all right? It was the cutest thing. So this line was strewn across a corner, could not have been more than about a yard in length or width, okay? And what do I see on this clothesline? Something in my lifetime I never thought I'd see, ever. Never. I see these little itsy bitsy teensy weensy clothespins. Now just imagine these little miniature colorful clothespins. What was hanging on the clothespin? Are you sitting or standing? Tea bags. So I'm like sitting there going, huh? It was the absolutely cutest thing. So I didn't say a word, but when we left the grandma's apartment and then shuffled back into my friend's apartment, back into her modern looking apartment, it was like taking a trip, like a time machine. It was amazing. So I said to my friend, let's just call her Jay. Her name began with a J as well. I said, so Jay, I said, I have a question for you. Please forgive me for asking, but I am curious. Why do I see a 3 foot clothesline hanging off the ceiling and in a corner with miniature clothespins and tea bags going across it? But do you know what it was? The grandmother was extremely frugal. Okay, because like she grew up probably in the Depression era. Because keep in mind, this was circa 1979 when I saw that clothesline. So that lady was grandma. So definitely she lived through the Depression era. So she was like the real deal. She says, oh, yeah, my grandma always does that. She said, never, ever, ever does she use something once. She gets two uses out of it. Now, that was her personal cup of tea clothesline, not for like friends or relatives or anything like that. So I was kind of like scratching my head thinking, I hope I'm not drinking from a recycled, cup of tea or whatever. But, but excuse me. So, anyway, make a long story short, no, 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 grandma wouldn't do that. She says, I bet I know what you're thinking. I says, oh, no, 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 no. But it turned out that was the cutest, I think. So never did the grandmother ever just go boop, boop with a cup of tea, a tea bag, and then just goodbye. And especially with the way I drink tea, I don't know about some of you guys and gals listening. How strongly do you drink your tea? Do you have a really strong cup or whatever? I'm the type, unfortunately, I'm the type I'll go book, book, cup of tea is over. I hardly make it very strong at all whatsoever. But when I want a cup of tea and I'm low or out, and let's say I have a stomach upset, I regret the day of slowing down my expenses. You see, that's what the grandma did. She found a way to slow down her expenses. Okay, and that's just one example. All right, so now let's fast forward to modern times, and sometimes people are very careless with paper towel. I like paper towel, so I'm not going to be a liar and say I don't like paper towel. I like it, but I'm careful with paper towel. Okay. Um, some people are really excellent about conserving it for quite a long time. God bless them, and I take my hat off to you. But I do enjoy working with it because I believe I'm throwing away contamination. But that's just the way I feel. I'm not expecting the whole world to feel like this. But there's something that people don't do, and it really has helped me slow down the rate of using it. I'm not saying I'm eliminating using it. I slow down the rate. So if we could slow down our expenses, they buy the ones that have like they call it like a pick a size or select a size or something to that effect. And always, always, always try to get the best possible price. So that's how I deal with it. But I do not eliminate a paper towel. I don't have a lot of rags to cut up, so to speak. So in my case, I kind of like to use paper towels. So I mean, there's many reasons. Everybody's life is different, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with cutting up rags or whatever. That's wonderful. Find a way that works for your family. But if you're going to be a paper towel user, don't just get the one that does not say select a size. Slowing down our spending rate is important, just like the grandma did with the tea. Over time, she had other frugal ways. I know she did because the granddaughter was telling me. Do I remember all of them all these years later? No, I do not. But I'll tell you one thing she did a lot. She baked a lot. She did not rely on outside sources for cookies. Sometimes it's cheaper to buy cookies outside, sometimes, but you're never going to get that authentic homemade taste like the way her grandma had things. The tea with her homemade cookies and crumpets and coffee cakes and whatever. There is just such a joy in being conservative as far as like saving money, just finding ways. Here's the trick: slow down the use. That's the key essence. Look around you. Is there something you could slow down your habit? Some people take incredibly huge portions of food on their plate. And I'm asking myself, I ask myself in my own case, for example, do I need that much on my plate? Not really. How many times we've eaten things we're like halfway through and we're going, hey, I'm really full? So if we could get in the habit of just taking smaller portions, all these things eventually add up to savings. How can you slow down the rate of your spending? That's a really key question. And only you can answer that for what's best that fits you and your family. We'll talk more about stuff like that in the future. That's what this channel is always about: saving money and more. Always come back if you have a chance. I appreciate it. Don't forget to click like and don't forget to share this video. Thank you so much. Oh, subscribing doesn't hurt either. Thanks so much. I wouldn't want you to miss an episode. Take good care. Bye-bye.